You don't belong in this cabin, and you certainly don't belong in my seat. The screech of a woman's voice cuts through the hum of the aircraft. A 19-year-old boy in a faded hoodie is gripping his armrest, eyes wide with panic, while a burly security officer reaches for his collar. I paid for this ticket, the boy pleads, but nobody is listening. The officer yanks him up, the sound of tearing fabric echoing in the silence of the stunned passengers. It looks like another tragic case of profiling until the cockpit door flies open. The captain steps out, sees the boy, and his face goes pale. He doesn't yell at the kid, he salutes him. "Sir, what are they doing to you?" This is the story of how one arrogant mistake cost an airline millions and ended 3 careers in a single hour. The air inside JFK's Terminal 4, Gate B32, was thick with the scent of burnt coffee and the nervous energy of 500 people trying to get to London. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the gray tarmac shimmered under the heat of jet engines, but inside, the temperature was dropping rapidly. Malik Thompson adjusted the straps of his worn-out JanSport backpack. It was a relic from his sophomore year of high school, frayed at the edges and sporting a faded patch of a NASA logo. At 19, Malik didn't look like the typical clientele for Aura Atlantic's prestigious crown class. He wore oversized gray sweatpants, a black hoodie with a bleach stain on the cuff, and scuffed Nike Dunks. He looked like a kid who had just rolled out of bed to catch a bus, not someone about to board a transatlantic flight in a lie-flat pod. He approached the gate agent, a harried-looking man named Tobias who was aggressively typing on a terminal that seemed to be fighting back. "Boarding pass?" Tobias asked without looking up, his fingers flying across the mechanical keyboard. Malik held out his phone. The screen was cracked in the top right corner, a spiderweb fracture that distorted the QR code slightly. It might be glitching," Malik said, his voice soft. He hated conflict. He hated drawing attention to himself. "The app updated this morning and changed my seat assignment 3 times. Tobias sighed, the heavy, dramatic sigh of a man who had already dealt with 4 oversold flights that day. He grabbed the scanner gun and aimed it at Malik's phone. Beep. A red light flashed. "See?" Malik rubbed the back of his neck. "It did that at security too." Tobias squinted at the screen. "System says, I seat 1A. That can't be right." He looked Malik up and down, his eyes lingering on the bleach stain. 1A is reserved for global services and board members. "There must be a mistake in the algorithm. I'm going to have to move you to." Suddenly, the printer behind the desk whirred to life, spitting out a crisp, golden boarding pass. Tobias frowned. He checked his screen again. The error message had vanished, replaced by a flashing green approval code, A youth. "Exec priority." "Huh," Tobias grunted, genuinely baffled. He handed the golden ticket to Malik. "Well, kid, looks like it's your lucky day. System is hard-locking you into 1A. Don't ask me why. Just go before it changes its mind." Malik took the ticket, his heart rate spiking. He knew why, but he wasn't supposed to talk about it. Not yet. "Thanks, Tobias," he mumbled, hurrying down the jet bridge before the agent could ask any more questions. The interior of the Aura Atlantic Boeing 787 was a sanctuary of soft beige leather and ambient blue lighting. Malik turned left upon entering, moving into the hushed sanctuary of Crown Class. He found Seat 1A, a private suite with a sliding door, and felt a wave of imposter syndrome wash over him. He shoved his battered backpack into the overhead bin, wedging it next to a Toomey rolling case that probably cost more than his mother's car. He sat down, sinking into the plush leather. He pulled out a sticker-covered laptop, opened a terminal window, and started typing code. He needed to finish the diagnostic patch before they landed in Heathrow. "Excuse me." The voice was icy, sharp, and dripping with disdain. Malik froze. He looked up to see a woman standing in the aisle. She was draped in a cream-colored cashmere shawl that looked like it shouldn't touch oxygen, let alone the floor of a plane. Her blonde hair was coiffed into a rigid helmet of perfection, and her fingers were adorned with enough diamonds to finance a small country. This was Beatrice Sterling, wife of a hedge fund manager, a socialite known in the tabloids for her charity galas and her temper. "Yes?" Malik asked. "You are in my seat," Beatrice said, not asking, but stating a fact of the universe. She held up her own boarding pass. It was paper, printed at home, crumpled slightly. It read 1A. Malik blinked. He looked at his golden ticket sitting on the console. I don't think so, ma'am. The agent at the gate just gave me this. He said the system locked me in. Beatrice let out a short, incredulous laugh. She turned to the passengers behind her, a businessman in a suit and an older couple seeking an audience. Can you believe this? The audacity. She turned back to Malik, her eyes narrowing. Listen to me, boy. I have flown this airline since before you were born. I am a Diamond Medallion member. I booked seat 1A 6 months ago. Now, take your little computer and your laundry bag and go find your seat in economy where you belong. My name is Malik, he said, his voice trembling slightly but holding firm. And I have a ticket. I can't move. The system won't let me. The system, Beatrice mocked, making air quotes. I don't care about the system. I care about my comfort. Flight attendant. She snapped her fingers, literally snapped them, at a passing crew member. Sarah, the lead flight attendant for the cabin, rushed over. She had a tight smile plastered on her face, the kind that didn't reach her eyes. Is there a problem, Mrs. Sterling? Yes, Sarah, there's a massive problem, Beatrice pointed, a manicured finger at Malik. There is a stowaway in my seat. Remove him. Sarah looked at Malik, then at his ticket. She saw the exec priority code and hesitated. She knew that code. It was rare. Extremely rare. But she also knew Beatrice Sterling. Beatrice had personally gotten a previous flight attendant fired for serving her lukewarm sparkling water. Sir, Sarah said gently, may I see your boarding pass? Malik handed it over. It's valid. Tobias at the gate printed it. Sarah checked her manifest tablet. She frowned. That's strange. The tablet shows Mrs. Sterling in 1A. But your ticket, it has a hard override code. Exactly, Beatrice cut in. He probably hacked it. Look at him. He's on that laptop doing God knows what. He's probably stealing credit card numbers right now. He printed a fake ticket. The accusation hung heavy in the air. The businessman in 2A closed his magazine and glared at Malik. The atmosphere shifted from awkward to hostile. I didn't hack anything, Malik said, closing his laptop. I'm working. Look, can you just call the gate? We are pushing back in 10 minutes, Sarah said, her anxiety spiking. We don't have time to reopen the gate bridge for a dispute. Sir, if the manifest says, Mrs. Sterling, I have to go with the manifest. The paper ticket might be a printing error. It's not an error, Malik insisted, his voice rising an octave. Check the back-end logs. The SQL database updates faster than the front-end tablet app. The tablet is caching old data. Beatrice laughed again. Listen to him, making up words. SQL database? Please. You're scrambling, kid. Get up. I'm not moving, Malik said, gripping the armrests. He knew if he moved, he'd be violating the protocol set by the chairman himself. He was ordered to stay in 1A to test the sensor biometrics for the entire duration of the flight. Beatrice's face turned a shade of crimson that clashed with her shawl. I am not going to ask again. If you don't get this thug out of my seat, I am calling corporate, and I will have your job, Sarah. And then I will have the police arrest him. Sarah, terrified of losing her pension, made a fatal calculation. She prioritized the loud, wealthy woman over the quiet kid in the hoodie. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to gather your things. We can find you a seat in the back. No, Malik said. Then I have no choice, Sarah sighed. She pressed the intercom button. Captain, we have a security issue in first class. Passenger refusing to deplane or change seats. Requesting ground security assistance. Malik closed his eyes. Here we go, he thought. Just like Dad said it would happen. The sound of heavy boots thumping down the jet bridge was the only warning Malik got before the cabin air grew even tighter. 2 men appeared in the doorway of the aircraft. One was a younger TSA agent who looked bored, but the man leading the charge was Officer Doug Kowalski. Kowalski was a man who wore his uniform like a suit of armor. He had a buzz cut, a neck thicker than Malik's thigh, and a badge that gleamed under the cabin lights. He was known around JFK for being efficient, which was code for aggressive. He scanned the cabin, his eyes locking onto the commotion in row 1. What's the problem here? Kowalski boomed, his voice projecting all the way to row 30. Beatrice practically leaped at him. Officer, thank God, this person has stolen my seat, forged a ticket, and is refusing to leave. He's threatening us. I didn't threaten anyone, Malik protested, standing up halfway before Kowalski stepped into his personal space, forcing him back down. Sit down, son, Kowalski barked. He turned to Sarah. Is he a ticketed passenger for this seat? The manifest says no, Sarah said, her voice shaking. Mrs. Sterling is assigned 1A. That's all I need to hear, Kowalski said. He turned his full attention to Malik. All right, kid, the party's over. Grab your trash and let's go. It's not trash, it's my equipment, Malik said, reaching for his laptop. Don't reach for anything. Kowalski's hand dropped to his taser holster, hands where I can see them. Malik froze, raising his hands. I'm just trying to show you the digital ID I have a contract with. I don't care who you have a contract with. You're trespassing on a federal aircraft. Now, stand up slowly. Malik stood up. He was tall, actually taller than Kowalski, which seemed to annoy the officer even more. Sir, please, just look at the code on the ticket. It says exec priority. If you drag me off this plane, you're going to trigger a level 4 security lockout on the airline's mainframe. I'm the only one with the biometric key to unlock it. Beatrice scoffed. He's delusional. He's high on something. Officer, look at his eyes. Kowalski didn't look at the ticket. He didn't look at Malik's eyes. He saw a hoodie. He saw a kid who didn't fit the demographic of a $12,000 seat. He saw an easy win. Level 4 lockout? Sure, James Bond. Let's go. Kowalski grabbed Malik by the bicep. Ow, you don't have to grab me. Malik flinched, trying to pull his arm away. Resisting, Kowalski yelled. He's resisting. That was the green light. Kowalski didn't just guide him out. He slammed Malik against the bulkhead. The sound of Malik's shoulder hitting the wall was sickeningly loud. Hey! A passenger from row 3 stood up. That was unnecessary. Sit down or you're coming too, Kowalski shouted back. He twisted Malik's arm behind his back, forcing his head down. Stop fighting. I'm not fighting, Malik gasped, pain shooting through his shoulder. My laptop is still at the seat. Forget the laptop. Kowalski shoved Malik forward, marching him down the narrow aisle. Malik stumbled, his sneaker catching on the carpet. He fell to his knees. Instead of helping him up, Kowalski dragged him. Literally dragged him. He hooked his arms under Malik's armpits and hauled him backward like a sack of concrete. Malik's hoodie bunched up around his neck, choking him slightly. Get off me. I can walk, Malik wheezed. You had your chance to walk. Kowalski grunted, sweating now. Beatrice stood by her seat, smoothing her shawl, a look of triumphant vindication on her face. Finally, she muttered, Can someone bring me a sanitizing wipe? He touched the armrest. As they reached the galley separating first class from the cockpit, Malik managed to plant his feet. He was strong, surprisingly so. He braced himself against the galley cart storage. Officer, stop, Malik yelled, his voice cracking. My name is Malik Thompson. Check the name. Call the CEO's office. Call David Vance. David Vance is the chairman of the board, kid. I don't think he takes calls from seat stealers, Kowalski sneered. He prepared to shove Malik through the open cabin door and onto the jet bridge. But the commotion had become too loud to ignore. The heavy, reinforced door to the cockpit clicked. The lock disengaged. Captain Richard O'Connell stepped out. He was a legend in the airline industry, a silver-haired man with 30 years of flight time, known for landing a cripple 747 inches, a Typhoon in Hong Kong. He adjusted his hat, his eyes adjusting from the dark cockpit to the bright galley lights. What in the hell is going on back here? Captain O'Connell demanded, his voice a low rumble of authority that instantly silenced the area. Kowalski paused, holding Malik in a headlock. Just clearing an unruly passenger. Captain. Seat thief. Became combative. We're removing him now so you can push back. O'Connell looked at Kowalski. Then he looked at the boy in the headlock. He saw the face. He saw the scar above the eyebrow, a distinct mark he had seen in a company memo just 3 hours ago. The captain's eyes widened. The color drained from his face so fast he looked like he might faint. Let him go, O'Connell whispered. Kowalski blinked. Say again, Cap? He's dangerous. I said. O'Connell's voice rose to a roar. Take your hands off him right now. Kowalski was so startled he dropped Malik. Malik slumped against the beverage cart, coughing, rubbing his bruised arm. O'Connell didn't look at the officer. He dropped to one knee, actually knelt on the galley floor next to Malik. The passengers stretching their necks to see gasped. A captain never knelt. "Mr. Thompson," O'Connell said, his voice trembling with genuine horror. "Sir, are you all right?" Beatrice, who had walked up to the galley to watch the show, froze. "Captain, why are you calling that criminal, sir?" O'Connell slowly stood up, turning to face Beatrice and Officer Kowalski. His eyes were cold, hard flint. "This criminal." O'Connell pointed a shaking hand at Malik. "Is Mr. Malik Thompson. He isn't just a passenger. As of this morning's board meeting, he is the newly appointed Chief Technical Architect for Aura Atlantic." The silence that followed was louder than a jet engine. "And," O'Connell continued, glaring at Beatrice, "he is the majority shareholder's representative on this flight. He owns, technically speaking. He owns this plane." Beatrice's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Kowalski took a step back, his hand falling away from his belt. "He's the owner?" Malik stood up slowly, fixing his hoodie. He didn't look angry. He looked disappointed. He looked at Kowalski, then at Beatrice. "I tried to tell you," Malik said quietly. "The system updated. I didn't steal the seat. I designed the algorithm that assigned it." The silence in the galley was absolute, broken only by the hum of the auxiliary power unit and the ragged breathing of Officer Kowalski. The realization of what Captain O'Connell had just said hit the small group like a physical blow. Owner, majority shareholder, chief architect. Malik Thompson stood up, wincing as he rotated his left shoulder. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by a throbbing ache where the bulkhead had met his bone. He didn't look triumphant. He looked exhausted. He reached down and picked up his glasses, which had been knocked askew during the scuffle, and placed them back on his nose. "Captain," Malik said, his voice raspy, "I appreciate the intervention. I really just wanted to get to London to fix the server migration. I didn't want this." He gestured to the stunned passengers peering out from their pods and the terrified flight attendant, Sarah, who was now pressing herself against the cockpit door as if trying to merge with the metal. Beatrice Sterling, however, was not a woman who understood the concept of defeat. Her reality was constructed of black cards, galas, and the unshakable belief that she was the protagonist of the universe. To her, this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a conspiracy. "This is ridiculous," Beatrice snapped, breaking the silence. She adjusted her diamond bracelet, her eyes flashing with indignation. "Captain O'Connell, is it? You are clearly being manipulated. Look at him. He's a child in a hoodie. He probably hacked your manifest just like he hacked the ticket. I am calling my husband, Robert Sterling, right now. He is a personal friend of the Vice President of Operations." O'Connell looked at Beatrice with a mixture of pity and icy fury. He turned to Sarah. "Sarah, bring me the flight manifest. The master iPad, not the cabin one." Sarah scrambled to obey, her hands shaking so badly she dropped the stylus twice. She handed the device to the captain. O'Connell tapped the screen 3 times, bringing up the ownership logs and the VIP flagged list. He turned the screen toward Beatrice. "Mrs. Sterling, do you see this name at the top of the hierarchy? Above the CEO? Above the board?" Beatrice squinted. The name Malik Thompson was highlighted in a pulsing, gold border. "That's a mistake," she stammered, her voice losing some of its edge. "It is not a mistake," O'Connell said, his voice low and dangerous. "Mr. Thompson's firm, Nexus Dynamics, acquired a 40% stake in Aura Atlantic's parent company at 8 a.m. this morning. Part of the acquisition deal was that he would personally fly the route to test the new biometrics. He isn't just a passenger. In a very real legal sense, Mrs. Sterling, he is your host." Kowalski, realizing his career was currently evaporating, tried to salvage the situation. "Captain, I was just following protocol. The lady said he was hostile. I didn't know." "You didn't verify," O'Connell cut him off. "You put your hands on a passenger without verifying a single piece of data. You assaulted a 19-year-old boy because a passenger pointed a finger." O'Connell took a deep breath. He turned to Malik. "Mr. Thompson, on behalf of the flight deck, I am profoundly sorry. We can have paramedics here in 5 minutes. We can delay the flight." "No," Malik said, rubbing his shoulder. "No delays. The migration has to happen by noon London time, or the entire Atlantic fleet goes offline. I need to be in the air." "Very well," O'Connell nodded. He then turned his gaze back to Beatrice. "However, We have a security issue that must be resolved. Beatrice smirked, smoothing her cashmere shawl. Finally. Get him out of here so we can leave. Not him, O'Connell said softly. He pointed a finger at the open cabin door. You, O'Connell said to Beatrice. Get off my plane. Beatrice froze. Her mouth opened, resembling a fish out of water. Excuse me? You created a disturbance that endangered the safety of a passenger and the crew. You incited a security incident based on false pretenses. You have violated the contract of carriage. Section 9, Paragraph C. Abusive behavior toward passengers or crew. O'Connell checked his watch. You have 2 minutes to collect your belongings and vacate seat 1. Before I have the airport, police, real police, not private security, arrest you for interfering with a flight crew. You can't do this, Beatrice shrieked, her veneer of sophistication shattering completely. I paid $12,000 for that seat. I am a diamond medallion, and now you are a liability, O'Connell said. He looked at Kowalski. Officer, if you want to save even a shred of your pension, you will escort Mrs. Sterling off this aircraft immediately. Kowalski didn't hesitate. He needed a win. He needed to show he followed the captain's orders. He turned on Beatrice. Ma'am, let's go. Don't touch me, Beatrice screamed, backing away. I'm not going anywhere. I'll sue this entire airline. I'll buy this plane and turn it into soda cans. Ma'am, stop resisting, Kowalski said, enjoying the irony as he reached for her expensive Toomey bag and tossed it into the jet bridge. My bag, she wailed. Kowalski grabbed Beatrice by the elbow firmly, but with significantly more caution than he had shown Malik. Beatrice began to thrash, her heels scraping against the floor. This is racism. This is reverse racism. You're only doing this because We're doing this because you are a danger to this flight, O'Connell boomed. Get her off. Now. As Kowalski dragged a screaming, kicking Beatrice Sterling out of the first-class cabin, the other passengers watched in stunned silence. The businessman in 2A, who had glared at Malik earlier, slowly pulled out his phone and hit stop on the video recording he had started 5 minutes ago. He looked at Malik, then at the empty seat 1A. Malik stood there, his hoodie rumpled, his shoulder throbbing. He looked at Sarah, the flight attendant who had tried to kick him off. She was pale, tears welling in her eyes. Mr. Thompson, she whispered. I didn't know. Malik looked at her. He didn't scream. He didn't fire her on the spot. He just looked tired. You didn't check, he said softly. You just assumed. That's the problem, Sarah. You just assumed. He walked past her, retrieved his battered backpack from the floor where Kowalski had dropped it, and sat down in seat 1A. He opened his laptop, the sticker of the NASA logo facing the cabin. Captain, Malik said, typing a command into the terminal. Biometrics are green. Let's fly. The flight to London was smooth, but the turbulence on the ground was just beginning. While Malik Thompson slept in seat 1A, his injured shoulder packed with ice brought by a terrifyingly attentive Sarah, the digital world was catching fire. The businessman in seat 2A was named Thomas Clark, a tech journalist for Wired magazine. He hadn't intervened during the fight because he was too shocked, but he had done something more effective. He had recorded everything in 4K resolution. 30 minutes after the wheels of the Boeing 787 left the tarmac at JFK, Clark connected to the in-flight Wi-Fi. He uploaded a 2-minute and 14-second clip to Twitter, X, and TikTok with the caption, Aura Atlantic Security brutalizes a kid for stealing a seat. Turns out the kid is Malik Thompson, the new owner of the airline. Watch the captain destroy a Karen. Aura Atlantic Malik Thompson karma. The algorithm, much like the one Malik had designed, worked fast. Within the first hour, the video had 50,000 views. By the time the plane reached cruising altitude over Nova Scotia, it had 2.4 million. By the time the meal service, Lobster Thermidor, which Sarah served to Malik with shaking hands, was completed, the video was the #1 trending topic globally. The internet detectives went to work immediately. User at EagleEye22 posted, I know that officer. That's Doug Kowalski. He got fired from the NYPD for excessive force 3 years ago. Why is he working airport security? User at Investigator X posted side-by-side photos. The woman is Beatrice Sterling, wife of Robert Sterling, CEO of Sterling Capital. She's on the board of the Be Kind Charity Foundation. The irony is suffocating me. But the real damage was happening in the corporate boardrooms of New York City. At the Aura Atlantic headquarters in downtown Manhattan, the mood was apocalyptic. The PR war room was in chaos. Phones were ringing off the hook. CNN, BBC, Fox News, TMZ. Everyone wanted a statement. Arthur Pendleton, the CEO of Aura Atlantic, stared at the massive monitor on the wall. It was playing the video on loop. He watched Kowalski drag Malik. He watched the captain kneel. He watched Beatrice scream. "Tell me this is a deepfake," Arthur whispered, loosening his tie. "Please, tell me AI generated this." "It's real, sir," said Jessica, the VP of Public Relations. She looked like she hadn't slept in a week. "We have confirmation from the cockpit." Captain O'Connell filed an incident report mid-air via ACARS. Arthur put his head in his hands. "Do we know the extent of the injury?" "The boy. Malik, he's the key to the merger. If he pulls out, the stock tanks. We lose the liquidity injection. We go bankrupt in 6 months." "It gets worse," Jessica said, tapping her tablet. "Robert Sterling is on line 1. He's furious that we kicked his wife off the plane. He's threatening to pull his hedge fund's investment." Arthur laughed. It was a dry, hollow sound. "Put him on speaker." Jessica pressed a button. "Mr. Sterling, you are on with Arthur." "Arthur!" Robert Sterling's voice boomed through the conference room. "What the hell is going on? My wife called me from the terminal in tears. She says some thug assaulted her, and the captain sided with him. She's been banned from the airline. Do you know how much money I move through your cargo division?" Arthur Pendleton stood up. He had been a CEO for 20 years. He knew when to fold, and he knew when to fight. He looked at the video, freeze-framed on Malik's pained face. "Robert," Arthur said, his voice surprisingly steady. "Have you seen the video?" "What video? I don't have time for TikToks." "You should make time," Arthur said. "Because your wife didn't just get kicked off a plane, she just assaulted the single most important shareholder in this company. She racially profiled a genius, Robert. And she did it on camera." "Aye," she said, "he was stealing the seat." "He owns the plane, Robert," Arthur shouted, losing his composure. "He owns the damn plane. And right now, the entire world is watching your wife call a 19-year-old billionaire a thug. If I were you, I wouldn't be threatening to pull funding. I'd be calling a divorce lawyer or a crisis management team, because the internet is coming for you." Arthur signaled Jessica to cut the line. The room fell silent. "What do we do?" Jessica asked. Arthur buttoned his jacket. "Draft a statement. Full apology to Mr. Thompson. Immediate termination of the contract with the security firm that employs Kowalski. Indefinite ban for Beatrice Sterling. And get a medical team, the best in London, waiting at the gate at Heathrow. I'm getting on the next flight. And Sarah? The flight attendant?" Arthur sighed. "Suspension pending investigation." "She didn't check the ticket, Jessica. She let bias drive the plane. We can't have that." London Heathrow, Terminal 3. The arrival was unlike anything the ground crew had ever seen. Usually, when a plane lands, passengers simply disembark. When Flight AA 882 taxied to the gate, 3 black Range Rovers were waiting on the tarmac. Malik walked down the stairs of the jet bridge, his backpack slung over his good shoulder. He was greeted not by immigration officers, but by a woman in a sharp navy suit who looked like she could cut glass with her jawline. This was Eleanor Vance, no relation to the band name, just a coincidence of the industry. The toughest solicitor in London, retained by Nexus Dynamics within minutes of the video going live. "Mr. Thompson," Eleanor said, extending a hand. "I'm sorry we have to meet under these circumstances. I have a car waiting. We need to get your shoulder looked at." "I'm fine," Malik mumbled, though he was pale. "I need to get to the server farm in Slough." "The servers can wait an hour," Eleanor said firmly. "We are going to a private clinic. We need documentation of the injuries for the lawsuit." "I don't want to sue," Malik said as he got into the back of the Rover. "I just want people to do their jobs." "Malik," Eleanor said, sliding in next to him as the car pulled away, flanked by police escorts. "You might not want a war, but you are in one. Beatrice Sterling has already released a statement through her lawyer, accusing you of provocation and menacing behavior. She is doubling down. If we don't hit back, hard, the narrative will shift. They will try to dig up dirt on you. They will try to say you looked threatening." Malik looked out the window at the gray London sky. I was sitting in my seat. I was coding. I know, Eleanor said softly, and we are going to make sure the world never forgets that. Meanwhile, back in New York, the Karma was arriving via courier. Beatrice Sterling was sitting in the VIP lounge of JFK. She hadn't left the airport yet, refusing to leave until she got an apology. She was sipping a martini, furiously texting her friends, trying to spin the story. Can you believe it? Some affirmative action hire took my seat and the captain was clearly sleeping with the flight attendant or something. Total disaster. She looked up as two men in dark suits approached her table. They weren't airline staff. They held briefcases. Beatrice Sterling? One of them asked. Finally, she huffed. Are you the concierge? I need a rebooking on the next flight to London, and I expect an upgrade to the residence suite for my trouble. The man placed a letter on the table. It bore the seal of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and another logo, Sterling Capital, Board of Ethics. Mrs. Sterling, I am not a concierge. I am serving you with a notice of trespass for JFK Airport, effective immediately. Your behavior on the aircraft has been classified as a Level 3 security threat. Beatrice laughed. You can't ban me from an airport. Do you know who my husband is? The second man stepped forward. I represent your husband's firm, Mrs. Sterling. Robert has asked us to inform you that due to the significant negative exposure resulting from your actions today, the board has voted to remove you from the Be Kind Charity Foundation, effective immediately. Beatrice's glass shook in her hand. Robert wouldn't do that. Mr. Sterling is currently on CNBC trying to explain why his wife assaulted the owner of Aura Atlantic, the lawyer said dryly. He is somewhat occupied. Furthermore, your access to the Sterling Capital corporate accounts has been frozen pending a review of potential liabilities. Liabilities? Beatrice whispered. Mrs. Sterling, the lawyer said, leaning in. You cost the airline's stock price 4% in 2 hours. That is a loss of roughly $300 million in market cap. They are going to sue you. And frankly, your husband isn't inclined to pay for it. Beatrice looked around the lounge. People were staring, not with envy, as she was used to, but with disgust. A woman at the next table held up her phone, recording her. Please, Beatrice whispered, shrinking into her chair. Stop filming me. You wanted an audience, Mrs. Sterling? The woman said, zooming in. Now you have one. Back in London, inside the plush interior of the Range Rover, Malik's phone buzzed. It was a notification from the Aura Atlantic app. Dear Mr. Thompson, we have refunded your ticket. Additionally, we have credited your account with 1 million miles. We are deeply sorry. Malik swiped the notification away. He opened his terminal app. Eleanor, he said. Yes? You said they are going to sue Beatrice? Oh, absolutely. Aura Atlantic has to save face. Malik typed a line of code. Good. But I want to do something else. What's that? Malik turned the laptop to show her. He had accessed the back end of the airline's no-fly database. I'm rewriting the algorithm for the ban list, Malik said, his eyes tired but sharp. It used to be manual entry. I'm automating it. If a passenger is flagged for abuse of power or bias-motivated aggression by 3 or more crew members, they are automatically blacklisted from not just Aura, but every partner airline in the alliance. Delta, Virgin, Air France. All of them. He hit enter. Beatrice isn't just banned from Aura, Malik said, closing the laptop. She's walking home. The fallout wasn't a ripple. It was a tsunami that crashed down on the lives of everyone involved before the sun had even set over the Atlantic. While Malik was in London, navigating the sterile corridors of a private medical clinic with Eleanor, who we will now refer to as Miss Graves to avoid any confusion with banned names, the situation in New York was devolving into a legal bloodbath. Officer Doug Kowalski sat in a small, windowless room in the basement of JFK's Security Operations Center. The fluorescent light buzzed overhead, a sound that seemed to drill directly into his skull. Across from him sat 2 men, an internal affairs investigator for the Port Authority and the regional director of the private security firm Titan Shield that employed him. I followed protocol, Kowalski said for the 10th time, wiping sweat from his upper lip. The passenger was non-compliant. The flight crew requested removal. I removed him. The regional director, a man named Henderson with eyes like flint, slid a tablet across the metal table. Protocol, Doug? Protocol dictates you verify the identity of the subject. Protocol dictates you de-escalate. Watch this. He pressed play. It wasn't the viral video from the passenger. It was the footage from Kowalski's own body camera, which he had forgotten to turn off in his panic. The video showed Malik sitting calmly. It showed his hands raised. It recorded the audio perfectly. "I'm not fighting. My laptop is still at the seat." Then came the crunch. The sickening sound of Malik's shoulder hitting the bulkhead. "That," Henderson said, pausing the video on the frame of Kowalski's hand around Malik's throat, "is not removal. That is aggravated assault." "And do you know who you assaulted, Doug?" "A kid in a hoodie," Kowalski muttered, defensive but shrinking. "You assaulted the single largest individual investor in the aviation sector this quarter," Henderson said, his voice quiet and deadly. "Titan Shield has just lost its contract with Aura Atlantic. That is a $40 million contract, Doug. Gone. Because you wanted to play tough guy for a lady in a cashmere shawl." Kowalski went pale. "I can fix this. I'll apologize." "You're not going to apologize." The internal affairs officer spoke up. "You're going to be booked. The Queen's district attorney just called. They're charging you with assault in the second degree and civil rights violations." "You're done, Kowalski. Put your badge on the table." Meanwhile, in a penthouse overlooking Central Park, the atmosphere was even colder. Beatrice Sterling paced the length of her Persian rug, a glass of scotch in her hand. Her phone had been ringing non-stop for 6 hours. She had finally turned it off. She was waiting for her husband, Robert, to come home and fix this. Robert always fixed things. He knew judges, he knew senators. The elevator doors slid open. Robert Sterling walked in. He didn't look angry. He looked defeated. He was followed by a woman Beatrice didn't recognize, a sharp-suited attorney holding a thick file. "Robert," Beatrice rushed to him. "Thank God, you have to sue that airline. They humiliated me. That captain. He treated me like a criminal." Robert didn't hug her. He walked past her to the liquor cabinet and poured himself a drink, his back to her. "Robert?" Beatrice's voice trembled. "Beatrice," Robert said, turning around. "Do you know what the board of directors did today?" "They're idiots," she scoffed. "They'll calm down. They voted to remove me as CEO if I don't distance myself from the toxic asset that is currently trending on Twitter," Robert said. "You are the toxic asset, Beatrice." "Me? I'm your wife." "You are a liability." The female attorney stepped forward. "Mrs. Sterling, I am serving you with divorce papers. Robert is filing for an immediate separation." Beatrice dropped her glass. It shattered on the floor, whiskey soaking into the rug. "You can't be serious. Over a seat? Over some boy?" "It's not about the seat," Robert said, his voice rising for the first time. "It's about the fact that you haven't learned a damn thing in 20 years. You think you own the world, Beatrice. And today, the world decided it had enough of you. The prenup is ironclad. You get the Hamptons house and a stipend, but you are out of this apartment, and you are out of my life. By tomorrow morning." "I'm going to Europe," Beatrice screamed, tears streaming down her face, her mascara running in dark streaks. "I'm leaving. I'm going to the villa in Tuscany. I don't need you." "Good luck with that," Robert said, taking a sip of his drink. Beatrice stormed out. She grabbed her emergency bag, the Louis Vuitton duffel she kept, packed and summoned an Uber Black. She was going to JFK. She would fly Alitalia. She would fly Delta. She didn't care. She just needed to get away from the humiliation. 2 hours later, Beatrice stood at the check-in counter for Delta Airlines at Terminal 4. She slapped her passport down. One way to Rome. "First class," she demanded, her eyes red and puffy. The agent, a young woman named Chloe, typed in the name. She paused. She typed it again. A frown creased her forehead. A red dialog box had popped up on her screen. It was a Global Alliance security flag. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Sterling," Chloe said, looking up. "I can't issue this ticket." "Why not? Is the flight full? I'll pay double." "No, ma'am. The system. It says you are on the no-fly list." "That's impossible," Beatrice shrieked, drawing stairs from the line behind her. "That was Aura Atlantic. This is Delta. You are a different airline." "We share a security database, ma'am," Chloe explained patiently. "It appears a Level 4 ban was initiated 3 hours ago. The code is aggravated interference with flight crew and owner. It's a hard lock, Mrs. Sterling. I can't override it." Who initiated it? Beatrice demanded, slamming her hand on the counter. Chloe turned the screen slightly. It says the request came from the Chief Technical Architect's office, a Mr. Malik Thompson. Beatrice froze. The name hung in the air like a curse. He can't do that, she whispered. Actually, Chloe said, he built the system. He can do whatever he wants. Security began to walk toward the counter. Beatrice saw them coming. For the first time in her life, she didn't argue, she didn't scream. She simply took her passport, turned around, and walked out of the airport into the cold New York night, realizing she had nowhere to go. 6 months later, the sprawling glass and steel headquarters of Aura Atlantic in London was buzzing with activity. The Thompson migration, as the tech world called it, was complete. The airline now ran on the most sophisticated biometric and logistical software in the world. Delays were down 40%. Lost luggage was virtually non-existent. Malik Thompson sat in his office on the 40th floor. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing a fresh black hoodie and clean sneakers. He spun a pen between his fingers, looking at the document on his desk. It was a settlement agreement. After the incident, Malik had sued Titan Shield, the security company, and Beatrice Sterling personally. Titan Shield had settled out of court to avoid a public trial that would reveal their training negligence. Beatrice, desperate to avoid losing her Hamptons house, had liquidated her jewelry collection and settled for an undisclosed sum that left her financially crippled. The check on Malik's desk was for $8.5 million. There was a knock on the door. Captain Richard O'Connell walked in. He looked different. He was wearing a new uniform with 4 stripes, but the insignia on his lapel was different. It was the pin of the Chief of Fleet Operations. Knock, knock. O'Connell smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Got a minute, boss? Don't call me boss, Captain, Malik smiled, standing up to shake his hand. You outrank me in the air. Not anymore, O'Connell laughed. I'm flying a desk these days. Arthur wants me overseeing the pilot training program. He wants to make sure no one ever kneels in a galley again unless they're proposing. Malik chuckled, but his eyes drifted back to the check. Heavy number? O'Connell asked, nodding at the paper. Yeah, Malik sighed. It feels dirty, like blood money. Beatrice lost everything. Her husband left her. She's living in a condo in New Jersey. She can't fly. She has to take trains everywhere. That's not your fault, Malik, O'Connell said firmly. That's gravity. She jumped off a cliff. She can't blame the ground for hitting her. I know, Malik said, but I don't want this money. I didn't get into this for the cash. I just wanted to write code. He picked up the check. I have an idea, but I need your help, Captain. Name it. I want to start a program. The Crown Class Scholarship. We take this money, all of it, and we fund flight school and aviation engineering degrees for kids who look like me. Kids from neighborhoods where they never see the inside of a plane, let alone the cockpit. O'Connell smiled, a genuine, proud smile. That's a hell of an idea. But why do you need me? I need a face for it, Malik said. I'm the back-end guy. I stay in the shadows. I want you to run it. You stood up for me when no one else did. If you run this program, I know those kids will be safe. O'Connell looked at the young man. He remembered the terrified kid in the headlock. Now, he saw a leader. It would be an honor, sir, O'Connell said. And this time, the sir wasn't just a title. It was respect. A year later, a YouTube video surfaced. It was a vlog from a young student pilot, a girl named Sarah, no relation to the flight attendant. She was standing in front of a Cessna trainer plane, beaming. Hey guys. So, update on flight school. I just passed my solo check ride. I literally can't believe it. A year ago, I was working at a diner, and now I'm flying. And it's all thanks to the Crown Class Scholarship. The camera panned over. Standing next to the plane, checking the oil, was a man in a familiar faded hoodie. He waved awkwardly at the camera, then went back to inspecting the engine. That's Malik, the girl whispered to the camera. He's the donor. He comes by every Saturday to check the avionics. He's super quiet, but he's a genius. The video cut to a montage of students, black, Asian, Latino, white, poor, rich, all sitting in a classroom, listening to Captain O'Connell lecture on aerodynamics. The final shot of the video showed the back of a commercial airliner. In the last row of economy, a woman sat by the window. She looked older, tired. Her clothes were plain. She was reading a magazine. It was Beatrice Sterling. She had finally been removed from the no-fly list after a year of court-mandated anger management therapy and a public apology. She wasn't in first class. She wasn't a diamond medallion. She was in seat 42B, right next to the lavatory. As the plane taxied, the captain's voice came over the intercom. "Good afternoon, folks. This is Captain Washington speaking. We are looking at a smooth ride to Chicago today. I'd like to give a special shout-out to our chief architect, Mr. Malik Thompson, who just upgraded our navigation systems to get us there 10 minutes early." Beatrice stiffened. She looked out the window. On the tarmac, watching the plane push back, stood Malik and O'Connell. Malik wasn't looking at the plane with anger. He wasn't looking for revenge. He was just checking the wing flaps, making sure the code was running smooth. Beatrice closed her eyes, leaned her head against the plastic wall of the economy cabin, and finally, truly, understood. The world had changed. And for the first time, she was just a passenger in it. And that, my friends, is the story of how one moment of prejudice collided with a lifetime of preparation. It's a reminder that you never truly know who you are talking to or who is listening. Malik Thompson didn't just win a lawsuit. He rewrote the rules of the game. He turned a moment of trauma into a legacy of opportunity. Beatrice Sterling lost her status, but she learned a lesson that money can't buy. Respect is earned, not purchased. If you enjoyed this story of justice, karma, and high-flying drama, please destroy that like button just like Captain O'Connell destroyed that Karen's ego. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a story. And tell me in the comments, if you were Malik, would you have banned Beatrice for life, or would you have let her fly? Let's argue in the comments below. Stay safe and fly high.